Ministers saying no decision yet on the lockdown level, but President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to address the nation soon. And there is some pressure on his government to open up the economy. Yesterday, the President met with NEDLAC, which is the council that brings together government, business, labour and civil society groups. Cosatu called for the ban on the sale of alcohol to be lifted and has asked for other parts of the economy to be opened to save jobs. Business and other groups have made the same call. NEDLAC has set up a high-level working team, meanwhile, to finalise an urgent economic recovery plan for South Africa after the President presented a Treasury document. Amongst other things, it has proposed a focus on infrastructure development, reforming SOEs and increasing the ease of doing business. The economy, remember, expected to contract by 7% this year or maybe even more, and the damage could be worse without a credible comeback plan. To discuss, we're now joined by Senior Lecturer in Economics at Wits, Lumkile Mondi. Lumkile, thank you for being with us as always. I suspect from my previous discussions with you that you think it's more than ample time now to open the economy.
Absolutely. We've seen the results from the rapid mobile survey conducted by a team of academics led by Professor Nick Paul, which indicate to us the impact on employment, the impact on living conditions, specifically around destitution and poverty, and women specifically, who are in a far worse position going forward. So therefore, we will welcome when there's an agreement, the opening of the economy, to bring back many people who are outside the labor market at the moment, to get them active, and in the process start producing to lessen the impact that we've seen on the survey conducted by Mitford.
So if that happens, then the focus moves to the recovery of the economy, that document presented by the President this week at NEDLAC. Presumably, he wants his administration's legacy as well to be recovery after the pandemic, not the fallout that we're seeing now.
Absolutely. And that document is a combination of the Treasury and the South African Reserve Bank, which is contained on a 57-page letter to the IMF in committing ourselves to structural reforms in relation to the $4.3 billion loan that we've been given. And we understand that the teams from social partners have got views about the recovery and how it should take place. As we have seen, business has put a document, the ANC has put a document, so is Labour. So the agreement at the meeting yesterday to have a smaller team to find commonality around this proposal will go a long way for us to get going in the recovery process of our economy.
Let's look at the Treasury document. It proposes things like infrastructure development, reforming state-owned entities, increasing the ease of doing business. These are things South Africa has been talking about for years. Surely they should not only be done in response to a pandemic. Is that a problem?
It's a huge problem, given that we are currently experiencing load shedding. And we know that if the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy would allow the next role, number 5, where we're expecting to procure from renewable energy independent producers, we could go a long way to ensure that with the recovery, we've got certainty and security of electricity supply. Therefore, certain decisions are easy to make, but we know that the politicians, particularly in the current government, are willing to take the tough decisions. Therefore, it seems to me that a lot of the issues remain in government hands, particularly the President, and the slowness in ensuring that private sector can play a role in the deployment of infrastructure means that more jobs will be lost, more people will get hungrier, and there'll be a shortage to supply water, electricity to businesses and entrepreneurs. And therefore, I see South Africa's recovery taking much longer because of South African government's inability to make decisions in areas where it can, and there's private sector support for it, to put money into it.
Yeah. So you're not even
government.
So Lumkile, you're not even enamored with the plan around infrastructure, talking about certain projects to create water systems, roads, rail, and ports. So something like the New Deal that can create jobs, but some concern that it could also be a new focus of corruption. What are your thoughts?
Well, we've seen in the period between 2010 and 2017 how a monopoly decision-making run by the state leads to satisfying certain particular consequences. And in that process leads to inefficiencies, as we have seen both in Transnet and Eskom and the Zondo Commission proceedings. Therefore, we'd like to see a much more contested terrain where efficiency is a driver of our investment, because efficiency will lead to lower costs, will allow more firms to come in and invest, and in the process more jobs and higher tax revenues. So we're quite concerned that ideology of government and its stance on driving investment when the state is not capable, when corruption is deep, and therefore nothing has been done. If you look at Angola, for example, where we've seen massive action taken by Angolan government in dealing with corruption. So for state involvement in infrastructure, we remain very skeptical because of the record between 2010 and 2017.
All right, so you're not happy with that. Around the other plans, fixing SOEs, the green economy also mentioned. There's nothing new here. But has this been a chance for the president and his cabinet to gain consensus? Maybe if everyone agrees, that means that Treasury has the green light to implement some of the plans. There have been differing views. For example, the finance minister sometimes out of step with others in his own party, in his own cabinet.
Well, what's important here is to build an inclusive economy, and building an inclusive economy requires more businesses having a chance. So on the network industry, particularly transport as well as telecommunication, we must allow private sector to play a bigger role there, and energy, of course, that I've mentioned. And I'm very worried about the state's approach, not so much from Treasury. I think Treasury understands that. But I think if you look at the ANC document, you look at the trade unions, you get worried that it wants to gatekeep and keep everything within one interest groups. We want our economy to be contestable, to be open, so that we can allow many players to come in and thrive. We know that there's a legacy where black entrepreneurs have been marginalized. That can be dealt with, but it cannot be dealt with by state ownership. We need more openness. We need more requirements that could then prefer black entrepreneurs, but not through the state, but through a legislation of allowing black to have offsets that allow them to have opportunities to those new infrastructure investments that are coming.
All right, so if the state doesn't hold all the reins, if it does allow a big space for the private sector, are the plans on the table? And some of the NEDLAC players yesterday were saying that they're tired of plans, they want implementation. If the plan on the table, say the Treasury document, is implemented, is it enough to kickstart the economy right now?
Absolutely. It is enough to open up the network industry. It is enough to open the infrastructure to private sector players. Where it is weak is on what we call a safety net. We're very worried that without a safety net, this structural restructuring by Treasury may leave millions of South Africans destitute. So what we would like to see, we would like to have a human face of that program, so that there is a safety net that ensures that there is no one who doesn't have access to food or any form of income. That is why people are talking about the basic income grant becoming permanent, and then we can debate about the mechanism and the amount that can be accessible, because this restructuring by Treasury is likely to lead to huge numbers of unemployment as we restructure this economy post-COVID. So let's think about the basic income grant and how much it is and how we're going to finance it to supplement the Treasury program.
The basic income grant, many people saying a great idea, South Africa needs it, but there isn't the funds for it, Lumkile.
Well, we are aware that the Treasury is talking to the World Bank, and I think part of the discussion around accessing World Bank funding, which relates to infrastructure, but also it must talk to whether the World Bank can assist us with putting a human face program, a safety net through a basic income grant. Because anything that leads to massive unemployment and destitution is going to lead to a lot of unhappiness, to instability, as well as a crisis of implementation, as we have seen what happens when there's contestation and people have got nothing to lose.
All right, thank you very much for your analysis tonight. Senior Lecturer in Economics at Wits, Lumkile Mondi. We take a short break, got lots more to come on The Full View. Stay with us.